want to get some coffee or something?
Can I get a cup of coffee? Black? Can't you see we talking? White?
Even little kids in Mexico drink coffee.
Well, I'm not a little kid in Mexico, okay?
That is the best coffee I've ever tasted.
A damn fine cup of coffee.
You want a cup of coffee?
No coffee.
Coffee drinker, huh?
Maybe we could grab some coffee?
Coffee! Coffee, 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 coffee!
God damn, Jimmy. That's some serious gourmet shit. Me and Vincent would have been satisfied with some freeze-dried Taster's Choice, right? And he springs this serious gourmet shit on us.
Well, hello there. Welcome to Morning Coffee, broadcasting from my base on the moon, just a couple of blocks down from Scribelight's lunar base. My name is Christopher Moonlight, and we're talking about Star Wars, and not just Star Wars, but everything surrounding Star Wars, including what it is, what we're sorry it is, and what could have been. But before we get started, let's welcome our panelists. First of all, we have Das Wolfen. Now,
Greetings.
Now,
Misa, a
name
Sith
I
Lord.
haven't- What?
Misa, Sith Lord. Misa used the mind trick.
Oh dear. And of course, Martin. Good morning, Martin.
Hello, my friends.
The man with a plan.
Yeah.
And let's see. We'll do the, of course, who's in the chat today? We've got Penny. Good morning, Penny. D. Bud Martin, Alex Moore, and the Crusader Lion. Oh, and Crumpus Jeebus. Now, there's a name I haven't heard in a long time. Long time. So, Star Wars. We're all fans. We all remember where we were when we first saw it. I actually saw it on home video because one of my dad's friends could afford one at the time. And he's like, hey, you want to watch Star Wars? And I was like, because I think Empire Strikes Back was just about to come out. And of course, that was a big deal. That was 1980. I was 4 years old, but I remember going into the theater to see it. And probably one of my earliest memories of watching movies is that, and I'd say The Dark Crystal and Raiders of the Lost Ark, and maybe the Disney Robin Hood as well. So, of course, Star Wars had a big impact on me, or else I wouldn't be making my own science fiction stuff. What about you, John? When did Star Wars first enter your life? Do you remember?
August 1977. Or not August, July. It was
July.
late July 1977.
How old were you?
7.
7? So what was that experience like for you? Because you were there for the hype then.
Yeah, I was there. It had just, because the way the theaters worked back then, only big theaters got premiere movies. And then it trickled down to the smaller theaters after it had been on a while. And movies at that time were held over if they were popular. So we had Star Wars for like 4 or 5 months.
Yeah, that's something people don't realize about movies back then, is that it was pre-VHS. If you wanted to see it, you saw it in the theater, and if it was popular, it would play for months. A movie would be in the theater for 5-6 months before it would leave. And then if it was in demand, because I do recall seeing the original Star Wars in the theater, just because, and Empire Strikes Back, seeing it several times over months. So,
oh yeah, I saw it. I was there like every weekend. That was my my parents dropped me off and go do their shopping, and I was watching Star Wars.
My producing partner on Escape from Planet Omega 12 said Star Wars was the first time he did something that he'd never done before. He said after the movie was over, he got back in line to see it again. And that's the impact. And in this day and age where, jaded with blockbusters and megaplexes and, stadium seating, I guess is what you'd call it. We didn't even have that staggered seating. It was just kind of a slope. So you'd have to look over people's heads, especially if you're a little kid. So I remember watching movies between, the backs of two other people's heads.
Oh no, I was in the front row.
Oh,
looking
you
up like
craning
that.
your neck?
Yeah, I was just.
There's so many stories I've heard, but Martin, what about you? Where were you?
I wasn't a little kid in Mexico. I was a very little kid in Venezuela. Uh, I think for years I thought I watched Star Wars on 77. Now I'm not so sure. I think it must have been on 78 because I remember that like 6 months or maybe less of seeing the movies, the toys appear on shelves, and the toys appear only came out on 78. So there's a disjunctive, but yeah, I watched it in the theater. It was a big theater. It was in before the dark times, before the multiplex, when your movie theater was awesomely big. I'm telling you, really, really big. So now I watch this new quote unquote IMAX halls, and I said, in the 70s, regular cinemas were bigger.
Oh yeah, IMAX used to be like you would go to like the Natural History Museum and they'd show you
Yeah,
some
and it
like
was gigantic.
they'd show you like some sweeping footage of like the Grand Canyon and like do all this crazy kind of, but it was never narrative entertainment. It was always like something to show off IMAX. Let's say good morning to Pat S, Zax, and Comic Relief Crusader. Good morning. Thanks for joining us. And of course, we should also, we want to hear about your Star Wars experiences. Speaking of the toys, now for me, my parents were what I would call lower middle class. My dad actually did have money and then lost it by the time I was old enough to have any memories. So a lot of times the toys would come only at Christmas time, and it was usually because when my grandparents visited. So I didn't get too many of the extravagant toys, but there were some, of course, affordable ones. But there's one that I kept, and I should have grabbed it before the show started, but for me, this shit right here was what it was all about.
Oh, I so hate you right now.
The speeder bike.
Yeah, that's the one who got away.
This is you push the little backpack thing on the back, and the speeder bike breaks apart. Yep. This thing is unfortunately in pretty rough shape these days, but I held on to this guy because I still think he's pretty cool. It's got the little.
Oh, it's 38 years old. I mean, come on.
Yeah, it's but when I got this, then the number one thing that like my brother and I both got one for Christmas was we got the AT-AT, which to us was like, that's like winning the lottery to a kid, because I had been told like we can't afford that, but I guess my grandparents stepped in on that one and I got the AT-AT, and it might still be in my dad's garage back in California. I'm not sure, but there was just such a thrill with the toys. When you're
until
a kid.
79, the only things I had besides the main cast figures was the X-Wing and the TIE Fighter.
There was go ahead.
And 79, I got the Death Star playset.
Oh wow. Yeah,
the big tower that had the
Yeah.
gun on the top. Yeah.
Yeah, the thing is that we had a strong group of kids in the neighborhood, so we would all get together with our toys. So I get to play with a lot of the cool stuff. And good morning to Tree Rock Creations. Sorry, my contact lenses are in wrong and they're a little blurry. Wolverine 626 and King's Porcal. Did I say that right? No.
Yeah.
I did.
Sport cow.
I'm blending together what look like extra syllables to me, and it doesn't seem right. But I'm glad I got it right. Yeah, so I did get to play with the Millennium Falcon. I did get to play with the Carbonite set. There was also, you guys remember like the little sets with like the die-cast figures? There were those.
Yeah.
Yep.
So anyway, and one last story. The Sarlacc pit. I recreated the Sarlacc pit by digging a hole in my backyard and lining it. I found the toothpicks in the cupboard, and I just stuck toothpicks all around the inside of the hole and had my Star Wars figures standing around it. So that was, sorry, Mom, that's where the toothpicks went. But what was that last one about feeling part of the universe? Let's go back to that. Not that one.
Comic Relief Crusader.
The toys made you feel like you were part of the universe, part of the movie. That is what was fun about the toys. Yeah. I was listening to a movie producer being interviewed not too long ago, and he said the reason Hollywood is having so much trouble right now with their stories, besides the obvious stuff of bad writers and not caring about the properties, he said, when you're talking about movies like Star Wars or the Marvel Universe or anything like that, these people have forgotten that first and foremost, they're toy salesmen. They just happen to make movies that, make people want to buy the toys. But the movies, you feel like you're part of the universe. You're given a prompt to know what to do with these toys. You feel emotionally invested in these characters. And I think that's where a lot of, we've talked in the past about Stranger Things, and I know that Buffy the Vampire Slayer has a big following, or any of these shows or movies. It's like people feel like they know the characters. And the problem with the sequels is that the sequels give them something that is completely in contrast with what they know. They're essentially it's like someone coming to them with like the swap meet version of the toy and they slapped the Star Wars label on it and went like, this is Star Wars. Or like Eddie Murphy said in when he went to McDonald's in his comedy routine, and his mom it's like, I'm gonna make you a burger better than McDonald's. He's like, this isn't McDonald's. And by the end of it, he's crying, holding in his hand, going, and his friends are teasing him, where'd you get that welfare burger from? That's what the sequels feel like. They're giving us welfare burgers with onions in it and bread with the ends pinched off, and we don't like it. We want the real thing, and that's why I do think, for all their flaws and people's opinions of them, I do like the prequels. And we joked at the beginning that Martin was going to click me off when I said that. I was actually in a documentary called The Prequels Strike Back, A Fan's Journey. You guys ever heard of this?
Huh.
It's actually really good. I'll read from the back. It says, the Star Wars prequel trilogy is the most debated chapter in cinema's greatest franchise. But what if the moviegoers were only examining the films from a certain point of view? Filled with the commentary from passionate fans and scholars of cinema, The Prequels Strike Back, A Fan's Journey follows the travels of a bewildered fan as he attempts to unlock the method behind cinema's most controversial trilogy and George Lucas, the even more controversial man behind them. He must unlearn what he has learned and look at the polarizing saga like never before. And I thought they did a really good job with this. I don't know if it's available on demand. Because I was in it, they sent me a copy, which was really exciting to get. I'm only in it a little bit. I did a big long interview, and I thought I was the best interview, but apparently they had some people like Kevin Smith and some composers and that sort of thing. I don't know, like historians, like literary scholars. What do they know? Boy, Kingsport Cal, I can tell you, I absolutely did. I still eat them to this day. It's not. Yeah,
I have no idea what a welfare burger is. So
a welfare burger is essentially your parents. Eddie Murphy, when he's talking about it, is talking about how he wants McDonald's, but his mom's like, no, we've got burgers at home. So she makes like a meatball with onions and bell peppers and puts regular bread around it, and it like all the juice from inside like makes the bread soggy and it's dripping down your arm. I have absolutely eaten those burgers. I did not grow up with money. And
I didn't either, but we didn't have. I mean, we weren't. My family wasn't rich, but we were. We didn't need social assistance either. So I mean, we made enough money that was covered.
Yeah. Well, welfare burger is kind of a general term of that kind of burger. But no, my parents definitely went through some frighteningly hard times that I remember very well. But that's a whole other thing. But no,
Yeah.
I appreciate people not assuming that I don't know what hardship is financially. Anyway, going back to Star Wars, the prequel Strike Back, they do all sorts of interesting stuff. One of my favorite segments is actually talking about John Williams music and how a lot of the themes in the prequels are kind of new interpretations of the themes from the original. Like the celebratory theme at the end of The Phantom Menace is actually the Imperial March played in a major key. And of course sped up. But if you turn that into a minor key and slow it down, it's the Imperial March. Kind of signaling that even though they thought they won and they're celebrating, it's the beginning. That event marks the beginning of the Empire. And I believe Padme's theme is a combination of Leia and Luke's theme put together and recomposed. And the musician that they got, I forget who he is. It's been a while since I watched that, but he plays them out on the piano so you can hear what he's talking about. Once again, illustrating John Williams' genius. So let's see. We got more people. Did I say War Monkey before? I did, yeah. And Dragon Ruse is here. Welcome, Dragon Ruse. So yeah, ultimately here. Okay, so first of all, John, Martin, I know you're not a fan of the prequels, but I know we're going to talk also about the Clone Wars.
You say it like I hate them. I don't hate them.
Well, yeah. Tell me your feelings on the prequels. Then let's start with you.
Oh. Well.
I knew it. You hate them.
No. I'm trying to word it in a way that it doesn't convey that idea, because if I hated it, Qui-Gon Jinn wouldn't be my favorite Jedi of all time. I wouldn't have the 3 prequels, the 3 movies on Blu-ray. I wouldn't have collectible from the era. Just is as movies, not as stories. As movies, they have their flaws, and yeah, you could. In fact, a guy edited the whole episode 1 with Jar Jar. You can have that. I do not agree with that. I fucking hate Jar Jar, but I wouldn't do that to the movie. I just take a deep breath and say, okay, Jar Jar. but that's it. And the first movie, I don't have many qualms, except for offing Darth Maul so quickly.
Yeah, he would have made a great continuing character. That was kind of a surprise. I understand why they
Yeah.
did it, or why Lucas did it for the sake of the story, but he was such a great design and such a, as far as a mysterious character goes, I think he could have easily continued on and been a great foil.
Okay, so for from Attack of the Clones, well, let's start with the name. It was a lame name, uh, and
Well, it's not a wrong title because
well,
that's where the clones became an army,
yeah,
and they started using them to attack the separatist forces.
it
Here's
is
a
at a certain point it is the weakest.
Yeah, it's the weakest.
To be
Yeah.
honest, but it has its moment. Not many of them, but it has it. As Leia said to Han.
It's funny because Attack of the Clones is my favorite.
Oh, what? There will be no show today.
Oh, we're
Chris
done?
has
Okay.
some technical difficulties. So, what happened to your connection, man?
There's so I will talk.
Let me finish. You asked me, and I'm
Oh, I
I'm
didn't know you were finished.
Yes, there are 3 movies, and I'm just the third one was okay. It was the best, mm, but it could have done without some dialogues and some scenes that, for example, that's awful scene in the balcony of "I love you more, no, I love you more, no, I love you." Fuck you. You could have have written a better dialogue to convey the same cheesiness. And but the thing is, I cannot watch one movie of a saga in isolation. If I want to see one, I have to watch the whole saga, OCD and shit. So every time I wanted to see Star Wars, used to happen many times per year. I had to see the 6, and it came to me that I was losing 6 hours of in a, s- in, a, in three, on 3 movies that were not as interesting as the other 3. So I said to me, this is not that interesting. This really do not add much to the story, so I'm gonna skip it. Uh, until I watched the Clone Wars, then I gave regained the appreciation for the prequels. Now,
Yeah, we'll
my
get.
problem but with the prequels is the story that Lucas wanted to convey. That he shouldn't have aimed for 3 movies. Clone Wars was the proof that story has to be a show, has to be a long show. And now I'm finished.
And John, what about you? Are you a prequels fan?
I like the prequels. I never had the hate for Phantom Menace that a lot of people did. Oh, Anima must be in the chat.
No, I'm just covering my bases.
Oh, okay.
Oh
but
my God.
and I agree that Attack of the Clones is the weakest one, but that doesn't mean it's bad. And there were things that I didn't like in Return of the Sith because there's just some things that I'm like, that makes no sense, or that was outright stupid, like the whole no thing.
Or the fact that they put it in the special editions too, just to round it out.
Yeah.
Well, the Frankenvader scene, as I call it, yeah, you could have him yelling no, but he should have at least fallen his knees. Not like how John.
Yeah, not
Yeah, a puppet with his strings tangled.
And they digital. His arms are digital in that too. His arms were
No,
in a different position when they shot it, and then Lucas decided that
no,
he
you're
didn't
you're
want-
talking it on the table
yeah,
but when he's yelling or wailing, those are Hayden's arms.
yeah. There's a lot of interesting effects stuff actually where they do use digital to change the positions of people's arms, even things that you like the balcony scene, as you call it, or I'm not sure if you're referring to the balcony, the railing looking over the lake, or when they're
No,
sitting alone.
on Coruscant, episode 3, when they're talking about the baby and how much they love
Oh,
each
right,
other.
right, yeah, okay. There's a lot of scenes of them on some terrace or other talking. So I was thinking of the ones from Attack of the Clones because there's that what is it? Robot Chicken made fun of it doing where they had the Padme going, this is where I go to talk about non-sexual items, and she's dressed in that skimpy crop top thing, and she keeps like doing dance moves and stuff. I don't know if you've seen that one, but it's really fun. There's a lot of great comedy around Star Wars, and there's a lot of great comedy around making fun of the prequels. My thing about the prequels is I view them almost as a separate thing from the original trilogy. Like it would be almost kind of the way that a story passes into legend, where it's not told factually how it really happened, just an approximation. And the orator, whoever's telling it, is kind of made it a bit more on the emotional side and lost a little bit of the continuity and overlooked the plot holes. But on an emotional level, it really works. I think that Anakin's emotional journey from at first being a kid who is, as Yoda points out, full of fear. He's hanging on to things. And then, of course, the Duel of the Fates is all about exactly that. Qui-Gon and Maul are battling over the fate of Anakin. And Anakin loses the father figure that he needs to truly guide him, and Obi-Wan never was. In Attack of the Clones, you see that Anakin is got all the skills, but he's kind of out of control, and Obi-Wan's not taking him as taking what he's seeing as seriously as he should. He's trying to be both his mentor and his brother at the same time. And then with the final installment, the Revenge of the Sith, it really just kind of shows. People go like, oh, he goes over to the dark side so quickly. I'm like, are you kidding me? He's been going over to the dark side since he was a little
for
kid.
years.
Yeah, and everyone's been ignoring it. I mean, when you say, when you come back and say, yeah, I just killed all the women and the children too, it's kind of a red flag. And at that point, I was watching it with my wife. I just turned to her and I said, if I killed a bunch of people, including women and children, wouldn't you kind of see that as a deal breaker with a relationship? Not try and comfort me.
Yeah, I always say my wife that was the moment in what Padme should have said, oh, wait here, I'm going for a blue milk. I'm just it goes away.
The thing is, though, that makes sense because you got to remember, even back then, the Republic was still prejudiced towards non-humans.
Yeah, but the only thing, the only words that he didn't say is, I'm a fucking psycho.
Right.
Because he admits guilt. He admits, I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have done that. And
this is where Lucas kind of goes wrong in the sense that he doesn't make those connections. He goes, well, Padme is so blinded by love that she's willing to ignore, things.
a mass murder.
But it gets a little hard to accept. But in the sense of the emotional context, the emotional continuity, that makes sense. Leave that comment up. I want to read it in a moment. But there's an emotional logic to the story that doesn't quite fit along with the actual plot logic. And I think in that sense, it's very successful. And I think it was Camille Paglia who said that the Revenge of the Sith probably had more emotion and more like actual emotional and artistic significance to it than most of, or if not all of the movies from the last couple of decades, at least up until the point that came out. Because she said that a long time ago, and I actually tend to agree. We don't, when you see the climax of Revenge of the Sith, it's heavy. It's got some real emotional weight to it, and for that, I will credit George Lucas.
Yeah, and the thing is, though, her response or her attitude is basically, it's just sand people. You know, they kill, and Comic Relief Crusader correctly points out they had killed his mom.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
and
yeah,
so
but
I mean,
she's a pacifist. Pacifists do not condone mass murder. He killed kids, for Christ's sakes. And then she has problem believing Obi-Wan that he killed younglings.
Yeah,
like he has a history about that.
Well, that's the thing. She's so blinded by love. She, and this is again, so much of what the prequels show are people who are blinded by their own ideals.
Yeah,
that they don't see that they're guilty of things themselves. I mean, there's the famous line of, this is how democracy ends, with thunderous applause. The whole point of the prequels is everybody is responsible for that moment through their own hubris and refusing to see the faults within themselves, their own authoritarian tendencies or their own prejudices. So we should address some of these comments. They're going by kind of fast. But go ahead, John.
Also, I would like to point out that even though I know it happened for plot reasons, Padme dying made no sense because they would just thrown her in a bacta tank as soon as she started crashing.
Yeah, well, the bacta tank thing has always been kind of a magic wand wave. In the context of Empire Strikes Back, you just see it like, oh, he's in a medical tank for some reason. It doesn't go into explanation. Once you go like, oh, Boba Fett's got a bacta tank, just go bathe in that for a bit, you'll be just fine.
Well, to be honest, the bacta tank exists in the expanded universe for a long time.
Yeah.
It's in terms of the technology of the Star Wars universe, there's so much about it that, I just kind of accept and shrug off because it doesn't need to make sense. We're not there for deconstructing the logic of the universe because none of them, it was a broken heart that killed her, not physical. Yeah, and on an emotional storytelling level, I accept that. I absolutely do.
The problem is that it breaks the previous canon.
Well, okay,
it creates problems.
I don't hold the prequels to canon. Like I said, I feel like they're a separate thing. They're almost like a.
says.
No, what's that? Oh, the Unitas of Wet Natalie Portman. That was good. I like that. I'm gonna steal that. All my jokes are stolen, by the way. So just so you know,
all the good ones are.
Even the bad ones. But yeah, it's stuff like that I can accept. I mean, if you want to really deconstruct the logic of the Star Wars universe, why did they give Luke a robot hand? Why can't they just clone him another hand and graft it on? It's the technology is so magical at that point. It doesn't make sense.
This is the thing. In that universe, clone is
a bad thing.
The clone technology is frowned upon.
Yeah, and that makes sense.
It's a cultural thing. People prefer mechanical parts before.
But there's also prejudice towards droids because of the robot armies before. So, but that stuff, I think when you're dealing with this fantastical Flash Gordon inspired universe, that you really only want to focus on the characters. And for me, the expanded universe, I know there's a lot of people who are fans of it and want to play around with it, but for me, Star Wars will always be the Skywalker saga. The universe exists to serve that. But yeah, you can play around in that universe, and if you want to get into the Clone Wars, bringing in characters like Ahsoka Tano, who I really loved. I thought she was a great character, and it was great to see her evolve from the first Clone Wars, the movie that they did. They tried to do the pilot as a theatrical with Warner Brothers. It's so weird to see that. It wasn't Fox, it was Warner Brothers. And have her go from like this little kind of pompous kid to turning into even what she is seen as in The Mandalorian. I think is just a great epic character arc. And I think that the new, what is it, Tales of the Jedi, and Bo-Katan, yeah. So, great expanded characters. They don't have really, again, they kind of go off on their own. And this is fun stuff. This is kind of where I see Star Wars almost going off into what inspired me to think of sci-fi in terms of Grindhouse. It's not Grindhouse in the sense that it's like massively exploitive sex and violence. Well, it's very violent, but it's mainly bloodless violence. But, just kind of going off into this kind of just crazy, let's see what sticks. I think that The Mandalorian did well with that, at least for a bit. I'm not confident that it's going to continue to go on that line, but and there's a lot about these Clone Wars episodes. Like, I didn't like the Bad Batch. Most of the Tales of the Jedi really don't make sense. Although I did like the episode where Ahsoka is kind of high on herself, going like, I passed that test, no problem. And Anakin's like, oh, really? I like that they actually kind of did a de-Mary suing episode.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, you're not as hot as you think you are. And just putting her through the ringer. So at the end, when you see they kind of call it forward, I don't know, call it back or call it forward. I guess it'd be calling it back to the final Clone War episodes of how she managed to survive being attacked by so many clones. It's explained in that, yeah, she actually trained by having clones continually shoot her down until she knew how to protect herself against it. So stuff like that is cool. But, I don't know, like Clone Wars episodes where it's like, I don't know, like the droids going on a mission on their like R2-D2 being led by that weird guy, and like, I don't know, it could be both good or bad, but I don't, there's so much of it, and so much of it contradicts itself because there are different people working on it, that I tend to just isolate the original trilogy as its own thing, and everything else around it kind of like stories that might get back to you about the way things were, but because it's being told by different people through, word of mouth, that it's never quite going to all add up. But in that sense, I'm able to enjoy it more because at least Lucas always had a sincerity about the story he was telling you, as opposed to the sequels, which just are...
No, they're sincerely bad.
Yeah, well, I don't think the people telling those stories have no reason in their minds or their hearts as to why they're doing it. It's just like, oh, we get to make Star Wars, I can put it on my resume. And
no, you give them too much credit. They have the whole intention to use Star Wars to destroy the patriarchy and everything that boomers love.
Yeah.
They salivated at the opportunity to use Star Wars to teach people how to be real good people.
Well, this is what propaganda is. Propaganda, on the base level. Let's see. Ahsoka. Yeah. Acosta Sana. What?
That's I am. That's who I am. That's my name, Martin Acosta Santana.
Oh. I thought they were trying to say Ahsoka Tana and they typoed it.
No.
Sorry.
No, that's your thing. Chris.
I was trying to read the sentence, but anyway, propaganda essentially convinces artists. Just kind of a quick story. I knew a college professor who went and spoke in front of a bunch of theater kids and told them what he thought it meant to be an artist. And he said, it's the artists that change politics. It's the artists who make the signs and go and protest. And essentially he was telling them that art should exist to serve political change. And that's the mindset of a propagandist. In my mind, that is evil. If you have, if you're an artist and you happen to be political and you want to use it to express yourself,
Hey, is Dick on his 97th birthday today?
Wow. I love Dick Van Dyke, by the way.
Nice. Good for him.
Yeah, I love Dick Van Dyke. He's amazing. He's a big practical effects horror fan too. He was on an episode of Making Monsters where he commissioned the effects company to create a giant demon for the front of his house during Halloween so he could scare the kids. And he was as happy and smiling I think he was in his early 90s in the episode, standing there grinning ear to ear, just having a great time, having this big demon set up in front of his house, and kids are walking along and he's saying hi to him. So God bless him. I absolutely love him. We need him for 100 years more. But going back to just this idea of just art should be used to propagandize this political minded mush mouth nonsense. And that's why the Star Wars prequels or sequels don't make any sense, because they are just there to propagandize, and the people propagandize don't even have any idea what they're talking about anyway, because they're influenced by the ideology of the week. This is why I don't read Stephen King anymore, or a lot of TV shows by people that I'll say this: I love Twin Peaks. I love the renewing season of Twin Peaks season 3, The Return. But it was obvious at times in that script that Mark Frost, who works with David Lynch, when he was writing, because when he was writing, not David Lynch, the dialogue sounded like his Twitter feed. And and your Twitter feed is whatever you've been told to be angry about that week. So if you're going to use your Twitter feed as the basis of making your art, then you're just going to get nonsensical garbage, because essentially these are movies made by people who were thinking about different things that were incongruent anyway that week. I mean, when you watch, what the hell was even the last one called? The Rise of Skywalker, which had nothing to do with Skywalker rising. It was a Palpatine.
The Ruse of Skyfaker.
The movie does not make sense at all, not emotionally, not plot wise. It's just stuff happening, and it's like, did you guys just drop the script and gather the pages back up and just shoot it in the order, like with not putting it back together properly? Like, and to this day, what did Finn want to say to Rey? It's like, it's completely forgettable. But
Rey, I'm your father.
Should have been called Star Wars Episode 9, Who's Your Daddy?
Now, listen, think about this. As dumb as Rise of Skywalker is, because more than being bad, it's dumb. It's the dumbest movie I have ever seen. And I've seen some bad shit, man.
Ed Wood.
As dumb as it is more palatable than The Last Jedi.
Yeah, The Last Jedi was just...
When my daughter asked me, because I'm in the house, I'm the only one who has seen Episode 9, and it was by alternative methods. They asked me, what do you think? It's not as offensive as Episode 8. It doesn't try to actively destroy the franchise, But it's dumb, man. It's dumb.
It's well, it's hateful in the sense that this is a guy that's just like, hey, it's hateful in the way that someone like a little kid is playing with his Star Wars toys outside and another kid comes along and goes, Star Wars is dumb and you're dumb. And I'll show you a good Star Wars story. And then he steps on the toys and goes, that's real life. And that's what Star Wars needs to be. Destroy everything because everything's going to be trash anyway someday. And then walks away. And it's just like, thanks, asshole. And that's essentially, and Chris Gore of Film Threat, said it best. He said, Disney's crime against Star Wars is that they had an opportunity to get the Han, Luke, and Leia and Chewbacca back together, and Lando Calrissian back together. And instead they made Star Wars snuff films.
See this comment here from
Rise of
Wolverine?
Palpatine. Get it, right? Yeah, I get it. Rise. Han Solo said in the Return of the Jedi there were a lot of command ships. The remains of the fleet should have been focused on. What a douche. A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, Force Awakens. What was it? Sleeping. What happened to the Jedi? Return of the Jedis. Rise of Skywalker. Skywalkers are extinct in the universe, so WTF. Yeah, again, there's no answers for this. Chris Gore again pointed out Han Solo got the villain treatment because that's the fate of a villain, is to, die and fall down an endless chasm, not the hero. It's just like, again, it's like watching from a child point of view, it's like watching someone come along and step on your toys and tell you you're dumb for liking it. And that's what they did. And these stories, they're important to us because originally growing up, they were attached to our values of loyalty, friendship, heroism. And we hope to pass that along to our children by maybe sharing in something that we both can enjoy. And a lot of parents hoped, myself included, that would be Star Wars, or Star Trek, or any number of franchises that we grew up loving. Not because we just want to, endlessly drool over the toys and play with lightsabers. Because honestly, I don't have time for that in my life now. But I want to enjoy these movies and I want to have something that I can connect over with my family. So, I was delighted at The Mandalorian. I don't know if we have too much time to talk about that, but before we do, I want to, Martin, if you could share the screen.
Give me a second.
What's that? Okay, so these days it wouldn't be me if I didn't talk about AI. I came across this and I just enjoyed this. The AI Star Wars project. It's just a guy playing with Midjourney. And this is something that I kind of see in the future is we're going to have, there are already fan films and there are already endless memes. I think this is just an extension of that. But this guy just started feeding in ideas for prompts for Star Wars. And I thought it was pretty cool. And people may say, the anti-AI people, I think this is the thing that they're not thinking of is it's taking... He's riding a camel. This is kind of like Star Wars of Bethlehem in the snow. But it's taking... or it's giving the autonomy to fans to just kind of visualize different things that might have been that they could have seen. And I gotta say, this did Star Wars wonderfully. I mean, they kind of look like the characters and kind of not. But I mean, this kind of a combination of Luke and Han. And I don't
Actually,
know.
He looks like the guy that played Han in the Solo movie.
Oh, right. Yeah, I forgot. See, I completely forgot about the Han Solo movie. Those Star Wars stories, I just don't care about them. And I've heard Andor is good, but it's slow, and I'm just like, I just don't have time to care. Even if it is good, it's like, is it so good that I need to run and see it?
Yes,
What's going
yes,
on here?
you should see Andor.
Um, you know, and I'm not saying these pictures are like there's any comprehensive movie in here. Uh, yeah, lightsabers only kill men in Disney Star Wars. Not sure if it's true, but I feel like it is. Yeah, a lot of people getting run through repeatedly with lightsabers, I guess. Like I said, I don't think that there's actually a movie in here, but just, little bits and pieces of what might have been. This is kind of a Battlestar Galactica thing.
You know what I see when I see with all this? I seen a
I saw
knockoff version.
Spaceballs.
No, a knockoff version. Star Wars exploitation, a Star Wars exploitation movie.
Yeah. Well, that's what I love about it. It's like you can do all the. I mean, like the original, the prequels especially, kind of dip into that, kind of Flash Gordon-y. Okay, this doesn't all make sense, but if you were, if you're a little kid showing up to a Saturday matinee like George Lucas did back then, and you saw that, you'd be crapping your pants. You'd just be loving it. And there are a lot of kids that did, little kids that grew up with the prequels that thought that they were absolutely fine. And you can find holes in the plot for the original trilogy too. Oh, by the way, I just want to mention, I don't have it here. It's somewhere in the other room, but I have the original Phantom Menace DVD where it still has the Yoda puppet. And I really
Yeah.
love that there are people out there doing the despecialized editions of the original trilogy. I don't care if George Lucas makes changes, but I do think it's important to keep the original, because the original vision isn't just what's in his imagination, what he wanted, but it's also of the time, what he did with what was available. Just like, that's what I like about AI is it's a new available tool, but I wouldn't want to go back with AI and change what other artists had done in the past. Andor has AK-47s and Earth buildings, and I only know it's Star Wars because people tell me it is, and not because it looks like Star Wars. I have a hard time getting past all that.
I
Yeah,
have something to say about that, because uh, War Monkey, I fucking love you, you know that, but that is a non-argument. I mean, it's a story set in the whole fucking galaxy. How much different is one location to another in your own country? Man,
That-
in my native country, Venezuela is the size of one of state of the U.S.
and you're
And this-
talking about
Yeah, and everybody expect that everything has to look the same everywhere. That makes no sense.
it also kind of, I mean, I do think that Star Wars has been a bit too focused on, Tatooine and thatched mud huts in a technologically advanced civilization. One of the things, again, about, I guess that alien was supposed to be frozen in carbonite, but it's like I love the idea of, oh, okay, it's starting over again. I thought that there was more to this, but yeah,
So
I mean, it's just gonna be different in different places, absolutely. And I like that about the Star Wars universe, is that it's so expansive. Uh, Gary will be back tomorrow. It's so expansive that you can get a book. What's going on here on Amazon? Episode 5. Let's just click on more of this stuff. Oh no, it's the same stuff. Yeah, there's so much you can do and play around with. Again, like I said, centrally, I think the story is the Skywalkers, but just I liked looking at this AI art because it gives me ideas for things that I can do with psi exploitation, and Star Wars is Star Wars because it says Star Wars and there are lightsabers in the Force. But for the most part, anybody can create their own similar universe and still be completely in the realm of owning their own copyright. This is kind of a problem that I've had with a lot of fan films. It's like, that was pretty good. Why didn't you spend all that time and energy on something that you could own and expand and make money on and give people options outside of Star Wars? Because ultimately what it comes down to is I will always enjoy Star Wars for what I enjoyed it for, and I'm willing to check out things like The Mandalorian because it's just kind of goofy fun. You don't have to take it too seriously, and it's got some cool stuff in it. And if you throw some cool stuff my way, some cool aliens and robots, and it's well told, then yeah, I'll enjoy it. But for the most part, I don't need any more Star Wars. I do want to see other stuff. I hope we get that. I hope, but the great thing that Star Wars has done for us and what Lucas has done for us is he's inspired a generation to embrace creativity, and he's given us the technology. I mean, if it wasn't for Lucas, we wouldn't have a lot of this stuff. We wouldn't have Pixar. I mean, he innovated a lot of this stuff. And going back to the prequels, people always say the prequels is just all CGI. It wasn't. There were sets, there were makeups, there was a lot of practical, there's a lot of miniatures. There are more miniatures in each movie than there were in the entire original trilogy. So, there's I don't know. I just see Star Wars has opened us up to so much more potential that we can take outside of the Star Wars universe and innovate and do new things. And yet, I mean, you don't need to keep sharing the screen. Thanks, Martin. I think that's pretty much it. I think that this, we're so stuck in this kind of Disney Star Wars rut now where they don't care about it. I think there's a great opportunity to take what has inspired us both technologically and creatively, and move forward and do some new cool stuff. Go ahead, John.
Oh, sorry, I was yawning.
Oh, I thought you were racing like, I got something to say.
No.
Well, War Monkey says, I'm just pissed they connected Mando to the sequels so much so that I can't ignore it like I did with season 1 and 2. And that's sours my view of Disney products a lot. I absolutely agree with you. I think that it seems to me that with The Mandalorian, they didn't want to. It seemed like Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni wanted to kind of have something be independent of itself. But here's the thing. My understanding is The Mandalorian was kind of like a side project that Kathleen Kennedy was like, yeah, whatever, they're doing that thing over there. It's not going to do anything. And then when it did the unthinkable, which was usurp her vision and make a big shot at her ego, her only choice was to insert herself into that process. And the results are, you see it crumbling. I mean, even I think the final episodes, or no, it wasn't it was the Boba Fett is where you really saw it. So yeah, I mean, this is the thing. Don't count on Disney to do anything but disappoint you. And I did a couple of weeks ago, I did a live stream about that. We're on our own in that sense. And that's why I'm trying to encourage people to embrace new technology and like I said, be inspired. But yeah, these people, as soon as they start going on the right track, they'll figure out a way to crush it again. Chris, I can answer that question. If you create a new intellectual property, people will not help you because they are not motivated. I have several unfinished projects because of this fact. Well, okay, I'll speak to that. It might be because they're unfinished. People like to see finished products. This is something I've learned. There are few people who like to see the progress of what I'm doing. Like I said, with my Subscribe Star, I've got some supporters there, and I've got people who follow me on different social media. But unless it's finished and they can't sit down and just watch it, you got to make it easy for them. People will support it. My other movie, The Quantum Terror, which is on Tubi and Amazon and Filmzy right now and coming to a bunch of other video on demand platforms. I have the data, and I mean, it's making a little money. Because of the cost of it, it hasn't turned a profit yet, but I do happen to know that tens of thousands of people have seen it now, which isn't a lot for an independent creator, or it isn't a lot for a movie, but for an independent creator, it is. But just go look at, people like Ethan Van Sciver and Eric July. It's not easy, but because they have finished products to get out there to people, and they keep delivering on consistently on finished products, and they're focused on their characters, and they keep pushing. They don't go all over the place, doing different things like Ethan Van Sciver has Cyberfrog, and Eric July has I think it's pronounced Isol. Is that how it's pronounced?
Isom.
And your boy Zach has Jawbreakers. These are consistent characters, and they keep pushing at them, and they had to go through a long time of people not being interested, but because they were persistent, they eventually started to get incrementally, baby steps, their followings. So I don't believe that that's true. I do believe that it's difficult and that not everyone's going to succeed. But if you have, my advice is, if you have unfinished projects, finish them, or pick one that's your favorite and finish it and put it out there, and then do the next one before people have a chance to decide if they want it or not. Because a lot of what getting out there essentially is just reminding people that you exist. Because if they see it once, they're like, oh, that looks cool, and then they forget about it. If they see it again in multiple places, they start to think about it. Oh, I remember that. Oh, I recognize that. Oh, that's getting around. Maybe I should check that out. You just never know, but you can't tell yourself that people aren't going to be interested and aren't going to support it, because you're already essentially predetermining it not succeeding. And I don't want that for you. I want you to succeed. And I think the more people succeed that way, the more we're going to kind of decentralize entertainment. And Star Wars isn't going away. If you like Star Wars that much and you absolutely need it, then it'll always be there. Same with Star Trek, that sort of thing. It might not be there in the form that you want, but as long as there's people out there that keep going back to it, they'll keep creating it, whether you hate it or not. As long as it's being talked about, and as long as they can launch the next production. And this is how producers work. They don't care if it's successful or not, as long as they can do the next one. They don't care if people hate it or not, as long as they can do the next one. Because every time they do another one, the budget comes in and they take their fee off the top, their millions off the top. And then whatever happens to it, they got the money. Greek and Norse gods and their stories still exist today. Don't let Star Wars on the other IPs ever die. Love them, watch them, and share them. Keep them alive. Do not let them kill them off. Yeah, and War Monkey, I'll say this. There are sequels and other people who have continued on the stories from those mythologies, and they were all forgotten about because it's the original that endured. So there will always be, my favorite of the sequels, there will always be The Empire Strikes Back. And, nothing can take that away from you. And people say, oh, they, these sequels or these other, stories that, put more detail into the context and weaken them more. It's like, no, they only weaken them if you let them in your own headcanon. Just ignore them. Forget about them. They will go away. Just like the Star Wars Holiday Special, except as a joke, The Ewok Adventure. Does anyone...
Look,
go ahead, Martin.
I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say,
when I first heard that Disney was going to buy Lucasfilm, to me it wasn't a good news, because I said, oh shit, I could die right now, and I know that Star Wars ended. I know the whole story. Now they're gonna drag this shit forever. I'm gonna die, and I'm gonna know, and I am not going to know how Star Wars ended. And the thing is, if you prolong something during excessive amount of time, it loses relevance. because it turns into background.
Well, I mean, this goes on. I mean, TV shows that go past like 3 or 4 seasons and go into season 7, 8, 9. It's like after a while, you're like, I don't care anymore because it could just go on endlessly and not mean anything. But if you bring it to a close, I think that there's some, was it, I don't know, Breaking Bad. There's only one Highlander movie. Absolutely. You're right. I say that it's as someone that likes the sequels to Highlander, including the weird ass second one. That was a weird movie. I actually saw Highlander 2 before I saw Highlander.
Planet Zeist.
What the hell was going on there? But yeah, you're right, Martin. And when I saw the Star Wars, I was optimistic because at the time when they said Disney bought Star Wars, Disney was, I think, creatively doing very well. I was impressed with what Disney was doing. Pixar was still doing some strong movies. I thought, well, if you put those creatives behind Star Wars, you get something really special. But what I didn't realize was not only was it the beginning of the end for Star Wars, but it was the beginning of the end for Disney. It was really, I almost wonder if it was the catalyst for a lot of the degradation of entertainment that we've seen. But I don't know. It's certainly the quickening. It's certainly, it's the quick. Sorry, I crossed a Highlander and a Star Wars reference in my head, but I won't. It
works.
Yeah, it's yeah. Again, there's so much possibility there, but it's like with me, I'm a huge fan of the Aliens franchise. I should do an Aliens episode. But once Alien 3 hit, and Alien, by the way, when I was a little kid, the first Ewok adventure, I was like, this is awesome. Then the second one came out and they instantly killed off her family like right at the beginning. And as a kid, I'm just like, what? Like, and then they introduced a magic woman who turned herself into a crow. And I'm just like, I think it's the first example of kind of that trend of like, wait, why did you do this? Why did you do this to me? Why did you, as an audience member, like, why did you pull the rug out from under me? And then Alien 3 did the exact same thing. And I think that's what Rian Johnson or however you say it, his mind operates. He's like, oh, that was cool. I think it kind of stems from Alan Moore reinventing Swamp Thing. But in that case, he was asked to do it and had never been done before. And he did it really well. And now a lot of people who don't have his skill just tried to repeat it and just turned it into the whole reversing expectations thing, which is, just a lame cop-out excuse to say, we didn't expect you to suck. We were hoping that you would do well. Everybody wanted it to do well. So, yeah, I need to steal more jokes. I'm getting too serious about this. Did anyone see the bad lip read seagulls with that's my ringtone from when my wife calls.
Oh my god.
Nothing a little music can't fix. Our favorite line in that's like, I was walking along and turned over a log and saw a tiny little stick, and I thought that log had a child. Nothing? That was hilarious. Come on, guys.
Yeah, I haven't seen it.
You haven't seen it?
Nope.
Would we get copyright struck for
I think we would.
We probably
would. God. So go type in bad lip reads seagulls and you will see the most genius thing ever done in parody to the Dagobah Jedi training scenes. And I mean that. It's just random, and usually I kind of get annoyed at people going like, oh, it's so random, it's funny. It's like, no, it's hilarious. Essentially, you know what bad lip read is though, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, it's just that, and everything that bad lip read has done since then has just felt lackluster, not because it isn't funny, but because that's so funny that they haven't been able to top it. So Absolutely, check that out. I keep seeing comments go by while I'm talking, and I want to address some of them. They killed Optimus Prime as well. Yeah, and
Good
you know what?
times.
That was done because they wanted to make more toys. They wanted to get kids to buy new toys. So they're like, we got to get rid of the old Transformers so we can bring in the new line. But they didn't understand people love those characters. They don't want different characters. Do different variations or bring in new characters. I think if they would have, in the sequels, if they would have brought in new characters and had them team up with the old guard, Luke, Leia, and Han, and then have Luke, Leia, and Han ride off into the sunset like in Indiana Jones, then we would have probably been more willing to accept those characters if they had given us a story where they earned a place in that universe. But no, they just were kind of slapped in and said, you love these now. Why isn't the theme park as successful as we thought? It's like, because you based it on characters that nobody knows anything about and has no reason to care about. It's just so odd. I don't understand how these people think. I don't know what's going on in their head, but they seem completely oblivious to all of this and have no care at all about it. So, yeah, I don't know. I didn't mean this to be. Is this getting depressing?
Yeah, it's a little sad.
It is.
I
But
got
I think
some sads.
we still have the original trilogy, and I do recommend Seagulls, and I do recommend go check out the despecialized editions because they're great. You really see there's really something in them when you see all the CG kind of cleanup stripped away from it. You see what was so textile and impressive about it. And if you imagine just going into the theater for the first time and seeing that, being a little kid and just losing your mind, we had never, and I guess, sounding old, but I'll never forget how special it felt. I mean, it was everywhere in America. It was, when you were playing at school, you were playing Star Wars or Indiana Jones, or Ghostbusters. I mean, there were several things, but you went to the mall and there was the T-shirts and yeah, you have all that now, but now it's like it's lost its luster. There was an excitement around it. There was an excitement around that time that I just I can feel in my bones, but I can't quantify. And I try and explain it to my kids, watching Stranger Things, and I'll bring up photos of myself, as a little kid. Let's see. Hold on a second. Where is it? No, not that. I'll show them, they'll watch Stranger Things. They're like, was it really like that? And I'll go, yeah, it was absolutely really like that. It's, but it's not just the haircuts and the nostalgia. It's a feeling of that time. I don't think we're getting that with anything right now. I don't see kids being excited about anything in that way. They're all, it's just a different world that, we try and relate.
All they care about is this.
I wouldn't say that. I would say because they get everything through this, that's how it seems. My kids really like theater. They like going to plays, and that's, requires you to put the cell phone away, but they still, go and look at, Hamilton and Six and that sort of thing. And they love Stranger Things, and they do love hanging out with their friends. It's all the components I think are still there, but we're just not, I think, creatively inspiring. Everything's just kind of turned into the same, and so it's turned into kind of mud, a white noise. So I don't. Maybe they do have things that they attach to that are special to them, but if they are, then I guess there's just that generation gap that's preventing us from seeing it. But if it's there, then good for them. But anyway, I think we're starting to kind of wander off into the reads. Do we have any final thoughts for our audience?
Well, it's just that there's only 6 movies.
And watch Andor. It's good.
And there's plenty of supplemental material.
Yes.
The only good live action Star Wars movie that Disney's done has been Rogue One.
Yeah.
I turned it off after 10 minutes.
Oh well, that's your loss. It
just wasn't doing anything for me. And I'm not to say that I thought this is terrible. I just
I sense a disturbance in your connection, Chris. Oops.
You know what it is, and this is just me, and this is why I kind of describe myself as a normie. Is I work really hard in real life on my own projects, and I'm in the current economy, we don't make a lot of money, so I'm always thinking about what can I be doing to make ends meet, and so at the end of the day, if something captures me and I don't fall asleep, it's got to be something really special. And I think that's where the bar is at for a lot of people who are normies. We as fans can, debate and talk about what these things are, but it's like, I'll give you an example. I am very happy for Keith's excitement about what's happening next with the DCU. But when they talk about things like Blue Beetle and Black Adam and that sort of thing, it's like, even as someone who used to read comic books, I'm just like, I don't know what that is. And because Keith does, and he's very excited about it, he knows why he cares about it. But DC is going to be hard pressed to lure me in unless it's something just spectacular and phenomenal and has so many people talking outside of the spheres of fandom about how great it is that I can't help but want to check it out. And that's not me being stubborn. That's just where I'm at in my life at the moment. So that's the challenge that all of these studios have, and that I have as a creator as well, is giving people a reason to care. And again, that's not me going like, oh, I'm better than that or anything like that. It's just, I'm thinking about my kids. I'm thinking about making rent. I'm thinking about, affording food, which I think we all know is a lot more difficult than it was a couple of years ago. So pulling me into a sphere where I've just got to see Andor or something like that, it's going to take more than one person recommending it. Not that I don't believe that recommendation, but it's like, I feel like my life is going by really fast, and I want to spend it on just the best stuff that I could possibly can, especially on my budgets. I mean, I might cancel Disney Plus soon if my kids tell me that they're not watching it because I'm not watching it. So and
you're not watching Willow?
No. I only watched Tales of the Jedi because I saw that they were short episodes and I was dozing off and I was watching them, just for noise because I like a little white noise while I'm trying to fall asleep. And I just it's just going like, these are The Ahsoka one was the only one that I actually even remember. Because I thought, this is interesting. They're actually doing a reverse Mary Sue, for lack of a better term.
You're being so harsh.
Yeah,
I love the whole Dooku arc because you can see the parallel with the Anakin's arc.
So the Dooku thing, I will give credit. It doesn't make a ton of sense except the moment where he kills Yaddle. That's what she's called, right? Yaddle?
Yaddle.
Yeah.
Yaddle. Okay. So essentially, it's like Dooku's like the idealistic socialist that as soon as he's pressed, automatically gives his allegiance to the authoritarian dictator. I was like, yeah, that tracks. But other than that, I don't know. It's like the whole thing about this is the son of a senator is not representing his people. I'm like, okay, you're an elected senator, and why can't the people just vote you out then? Like if you're that crappy. But then, I mean, that tracks too. So
there are ways in which they cannot be elected out.
Yeah,
I
just stories like that seem, I don't know, they're a bit on the nose, and just with a little thought, I think they could be better. But they just.
I would love to talk about that show with you for extended period of time. It cannot be today because you're leaving us.
Yes, we should wrap up the show. I do have other stuff that I've got to do, and I feel like I'm not today. I feel like I'm kind of I it's got a little too heavy. It's right. Gary always knows how to bring the humor in, and usually I think I can be a little funny, but today I got a little too serious about it. But yeah, like I said, I'm not saying it's not good. It's just it's not enough to excite me, like seeing something. Like what was the last?
You're not saying it's not good. You're just saying it's bad.
Well, the last time I really remember being excited about something new was way back. I don't know, like what has it been 20 years since Lord of the Rings came out? Like Lord of the Rings had me and my wife excited. It was before we had our children. We like that felt like an event, and we showed up for each of those movies. And then when they came out with the extended editions, I remember being so thrilled. I rented them. And I found them in a thrift store. I think I spent like $5 each for the extended box sets. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. It felt special. And like I said, I'm not saying that some of this stuff isn't good. It's just not good enough. And there you go. All right, let's thank our
Wait.
What?
I would like to be the voice of the people in here. Part of the chat are asking John if he's willing to take the remaining hour.
Oh, you want to keep going?
Can you, John?
Yeah, I can. I'm sure I can vamp for 40 minutes.
Yeah, okay. That's just fine.
PCM, we hear your chat.
But yeah, because technically we're supposed to do 2 hours.
Are we?
Yes.
Yeah.
Shows have got to be 2 hours now because of radio.
I missed this part. I don't remember being informed of that. But
in the wise words of Rutger Hauer, didn't you get the memo?
No. I did not get the memo. I thought I was doing hour shows. But we get this weird thing.
That was originally, but the radio is now asking for 2 hours. So we're using this time from here to January to train ourselves.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, I'd say I'll stay on until 11:30.
Okay.
And then I'll let you guys do your vamp thing. But let's go.
Everybody loves Chris.
Everybody loves Chris. Yeah, there's definitely other Star Wars stuff that I wanted to talk about, but of course, now that I'm here, well, let's talk a little bit about the Disney Plus series, because I noped out after 2 episodes of Obi-Wan Kenobi because I saw where that was going, and I'd already been burned by Boba Fett.
I watched it all. I watch everything. It's just I can't, because Star Wars was I watch it, I get angry, or I get disappointed, but it doesn't matter. I will still come back and watch it.
I just love that they accidentally had him creep on the little girl Leia. You're 10 years old, but you won't always be. Should have done.
I don't think it was meant like that.
You're the only one I know that see it that way.
Yeah,
I wasn't the original person to point that out. I forget who did it, but I think it might have been on Midnight's Edge or something like that. But somebody did a bit where they slowed down the line so it looked even creepier, and I was dying. It was so... It's like, you're 10 years old, but you won't always be. God.
Yeah, see, like I said, that's not what it was meant. I mean, come on now.
There's the other line. Are you my father? No.
Come on, man.
The other line, she's like, "Are you my father?" And then it cuts to a picture of Natalie Portman, like just with a sheet over, and he goes, "But I wish I was." Yeah, that show again. Just
Well,
not
I
the
saw,
Obi-Wan character, and Ewan McGregor. You know, I mean, I realize these actors don't get any say in it, but I got to imagine even Ewan McGregor, who is very on their side, would have been going like, this doesn't make any sense for this character to be this way. I would have loved to have seen. I think the potential was there to show that Yoda and Obi-Wan were still in communication over the years, because even Yoda mentions many years have I watched this one, and you kind of you kind of think, oh, he's been watching him through the Force. But I thought, there's plenty of opportunities to show that maybe Yoda leaves Dagobah and comes to Tatooine and kind of off in the distance visits with Obi-Wan, and they train and maybe commune with Qui-Gon. It would have been awesome if we could have seen Qui-Gon as a Force ghost. That would have been great.
well, we saw Qui-Gon as a Force ghost.
In the Clone Wars, yeah.
No, in
No?
Obi-Wan.
No. Yeah, you didn't. Yeah. It's
In the last
at
episode.
the end of it.
The
At
last
the end of
scene
it.
of- yeah,
Yeah.
What did they do with that?
not
Nothing.
much.
Did he just show up? Did he talk? Did he?
Yeah, he
Yeah.
talked. It was like at last, you piece of shit idiot, you can't see me.
Yeah.
Did he bonk him on the head with a cane like Yoda does to Luke?
He should have.
No. Yeah. Well, see, the thing is, I don't think Yoda ever could have left Dagobah,
No,
because
the
if there's one, see, a human can blend in. Human can look like another human. Yoda's race is so rare that as soon as he showed up, everybody would go, "That's Yoda."
Hey, Dork Knight. Yeah, of course, they're out in the middle of nowhere, so it could have been done clandestinely.
He still has to come, unless he's got a ship of his own, which they never said. And that isn't really, hasn't been.
Well, in the deleted prequel scene, you see him landing on Dagobah in his own ship. Kind of looks like the
What?
ET ship. Have you seen that shot?
No,
There's a
you're
deleted
not
scene in the Revenge of the Sith of Yoda landing on Dagobah, and the ship opens up, and he kind of steps out and looks around and goes like,
No,
like,
No,
I have the
deleted scenes aren't canon.
and
No,
I
that's-
have all the deleted scenes that came with the Blu-ray editions, and it's not there. Man,
I got it in the I've
that
got
was
the
something.
DVD, so maybe the DVD is different, but they there's a scene in episode it's on this one.
Does it
But-
show him flying the ship though?
Yeah, he's flying. He flies in and he lands.
Does you actually see him piloting the ship? That's what I'm asking. Or do you just see the ship come in and then he walks out of it?
It's the same ship that he takes off from with when he says goodbye to Chewbacca. That thing.
No,
Okay.
no.
I'm
That's
assuming-
on Kashyyyk. That's from Kashyyyk to the meeting with Bail
Yeah.
Organa.
So it's,
Yeah, he goes. Yeah, see-
Your memories are
You're Mandela affecting again.
yeah.
I just watched episode 3 not too long ago. Not that he says goodbye to Chewbacca and that other one, and he gets in a ship and flies
Powerful.
off.
And goes, yeah. And then he meets with the next time you see him is in the Tantive 4 with Bail Organa.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, doesn't he fly there in his ship?
No.
How does that work? That see, this is where I become a normie. Like I don't
Yeah.
understand what the ships. Like if I see him fly off, so I assume he's flying through space in that thing. So
Well, my point is that they in canon, there's no explanation for how he got there, and I just assume that he got dropped off
Yeah.
by either
Bail.
Obi-Wan or someone else. But the thing is, because he couldn't have traveled with, he couldn't have traveled on that, and if he would have had his own ship, then he could have left at any time, which he never did.
well, I thought he was in self-exile though. So and,
Yeah,
and
no,
again,
the-
like I said, just
The thing the thing is this: Dagobah is a focus point of the dark side of the Force, and the only way that he could hide his presence was being covered by that veil.
Oh wow, okay. See, this is stuff that I've like. I mean, I figured that there was a dark side cave because that happened in Empire Strikes Back, but I didn't realize that it was. Again, this is me being kind of a normie Star Wars fan, where I don't go diving into all the lore, and there's so much to it. Jennifer Lawrence is from a Mandela Effect universe where she's the first human. Yeah. This again. No, I'll talk about my balls.
No, don't.
No.
That's getting weird.
Yeah.
That is Saturday Night Live skit.
What have we got here? A fucking comedian.
So yeah, again, like for me, I don't know. I wouldn't have mind seeing it, but again, I'm not as wrapped up in the lore and the canon, so I don't know. You know, fans are gonna explain to me like you guys did why that doesn't work. But I'm sure I saw him fly off in a spaceship. So to me, to a normie, that's like, okay, he flew off in a spaceship. It's flying around in a spaceship. It's a space thing, the space stuff. Space. So yeah, it's and this is the kind of thing that, you know, I don't know. But so Andor, what this Andor is kind of like, I've heard it's like THX
a little.
I could see that, a little bit of that comparison. It's, I mean, if you didn't like Rogue One, or did you see Rogue One?
I just got bored and turned it off. It wasn't.
See, you've got to watch. You only watch. You said
it.
you watch what, 10 minutes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, you go back, force yourself to watch the whole thing.
Watch it.
I thought I was watching. Again, like Jennifer Lawrence. It was like a Jennifer Lawrence thing. It was like
oh my God, why?
Catching Fire, or what is that called? The Hunger Games. Like just watching that girl and just like, you know, it's not why I go to Star Wars. I go to Star Wars for like swashbuckling style high adventure. You know.
God damn it, Chris, watch it. You haven't watched it.
But
she's not a Mary Sue.
No, she's not. She's the opposite.
But I mean, that's not the only caveat. It's just like, you know, it's,
well, if you only watch 10 minutes of it, then you know you didn't even get into the story.
Yeah, but I heard about what the story was.
No, man. It's an excellent World War II movie.
Yeah,
that's all that I gotta say.
I don't watch World War II movies either.
Oh my God, Chris, help me out. Help me. Help you.
I'm difficult. It's like my thing. It's like I'm difficult. Make me so excited that I can't help to, you know, it's just like, and I've like, trust me, my producer, Doug, he knows this. I have a stack of DVDs like this high that he sent me, that he's like, you got to watch this. You got to watch this. I need to talk to you about this. This is really good. I haven't watched any of them. And it's not because I'm deliberately trying to be like difficult. I just, nothing feels like motivation enough for me to like put it in and watch it.
Okay. Do you like heist movies?
No.
God damn it.
Just
sorry, I don't. I mean, if it's a good heist movie, I'll enjoy it. It's not like I'm anti-heist movie, but someone says heist movie, I don't go, oh, another heist movie, I gotta watch it. You know.
Okay.
Well,
were the Eagles there? I know you don't watch World War II movies though.
Yeah.
We're wasting our breath with him. We still love you.
Yeah. With I was gonna say, with Andor, it starts out like a heist movie. Then it becomes a prison movie about, you know, like the Great Escape kind of thing. And then it morphs into him actually becoming part of the rebellion.
Well, the rebellion truly get informed.
Yeah. Yeah, you actually get to see the early tenets, the early start of the rebellion. You get to see how Mon Mothma got involved and why she got involved. You get to see like how Cassian Andor got, because Cassian Andor didn't want to be involved in anything. He just cared about himself. Yeah, he's just a thing. He's just a low level, not really a thug, but the low level con man, kind of thing.
I was about to watch it. Now you're talking me out of it.
God damn it, Chris! Why?
Well, I'll tell you why. And again, it's not me trying to deliberately be difficult, but it goes against everything that
Aren't you, Chris?
What?
Aren't you? Aren't you trying to be deliberately difficult?
It goes against everything that excites me about storytelling, which is over explaining stuff. It's like if the characters, the core characters are interesting and the plot is simple, I think there's so much more to be derived from it through your imagination and through engaging it. As soon as you start, like again, the Aliens franchise, as soon as you start explaining to me who the engineers were and how the aliens came to be and all that sort of thing, it becomes less interesting and more disappointing to me, because what I just was able to infer from the original...
Kingsport is the man today.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's not so much that I don't it's like, I'm sure it's fine. That's not the point. It's not that I'm saying that I don't like it or that it shouldn't exist and people shouldn't enjoy it. I'm just saying that it doesn't entice me, and I see it not enticing a lot of people. And so I think that there's something to be thought about there as to why. The core fandom is always going to want to check out more, is always going to want to see more of the lore realized, because that's what fandoms are.
Chris?
But we're not drawing in the normies, and that's evident by the the Disney Plus numbers. So, but I will check out Andor. And if it does draw me in, then I'm happy to say that it does. And I might even go back and finish watching Rogue One. But I guess it just comes down to, like I said, it's not out of wanting to hate on it or anything like that. It just doesn't feel like it matters to me. But if it matters to other people, then that's fine. It's not, again,
like Anakin said, sometimes we have to let go for pride and do what is required of us.
I would like to point out that Rogue One, a Star Wars story, did draw in the normies because it is the highest rated of the highest rated non-Star Wars Disney movie, but it's third overall in box office of Star Wars movies.
Well, that's good. And I think Kathleen Kennedy probably killed the potential of other Star Wars stories with the main sequels, because wasn't it the Solo movie that came out after the second sequel?
Yeah, and that
because
that only made $213 million.
Yeah, and I forgot that existed. I mean, just
Rogue One made $500 million, over $500 million.
Not bad. I think that just going on to the Solo story, I think another thing that people don't think about is, I don't think people want to see another actor play Han Solo, because it's Harrison Ford. It's just like people don't want to see another person play Indiana Jones. It's Harrison Ford is the reason that they're showing up.
However, we will be very happy with Bucky playing Luke.
Yeah.
With who?
Sebastian Stan.
Yeah, Sebastian Stan looks just like Luke Skywalker.
Oh,
I
think I've seen pictures of that guy. Is he from? Is he part of another show? Like, because I don't know who he is.
Oh my God!
Did you watch the Marvel movies?
Which?
He's Winter Soldier. He's Winter Soldier.
He doesn't look like Luke in that, so you can't.
No, he doesn't look like it. But if you see him with because you got to remember the movies they make makeup and stuff. If you see and you also got to look at how he dresses, and if you put him in a Jedi robe, he looks like Luke Skywalker.
Gotcha. Okay. And I gotta say this.
Somebody took a headshot of him and put it on the body of Mark Hamill with the brown suit and Bespin, and the only difference is the eye color.
I agree with
that's
Jordan Knight, by the way. Yeah, that's a good point. Chris Pine did, I think, fill the shoes of Kirk. Now, the reason that
I don't like his Kirk.
I disagree.
The reason that I think it works is because it's an alternative. It's obviously, stated it's an alternative universe Star Trek, so it's acceptable. He's not doing William Shatner, but he's close enough, and I enjoyed that cast immensely. But those movies kind of faltered as well.
The only good part of that cast is Carl Urban.
Yeah, I will. Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
I think we talked about this before.
Zachary works.
Now the thing about so people like Sebastian Stan, the reason that I don't remember a lot of these celebrities' names is, again, I think something that I said that Quentin Tarantino said, which is these days we don't have. He said we don't have celebrities.
Read this, Chris.
Hey, I haven't talked about it in a while. I'm a big practical effect. I'm going to do a practical effects episode to counter that.
You're being drawn to the dark side of the arts.
Well, yes, I am drawn to the dark side. I want to take my lightsaber to everything. I want to burn it all down. Unlimited power. But just going to what Quentin Tarantino said, I may not have said it on here. I might have said it in a phone conversation, but Quentin Tarantino said we don't have celebrities anymore. Like, Chris Hemsworth isn't really a celebrity. Thor is.
No. Movie stars. He said.
Yeah, it's movie stars. It's like we know them as the characters, but we know.
I would like to point at Tom Cruise. I would like to point at Keanu Reeves.
Those are people from our old school, though. Those are the last of them. Those are the holdovers. I'm just talking about the
shots fires in the chat.
Yeah, I am going to, here's my prediction. And by the way, mark this. All right. About AI. It's not going to kill creativity. It's not going to make people lazy. It is going to be a tool that the people who get on it now are going to be 100% dominant in entertainment 10 years from now, maybe less. And the people who said, no, we don't want it, are going to be begging. And I'm not the only one to say this. Matter of fact, I'm stealing this line from your boy, Zach. 10 years from now, people are going to be begging to have a seat at the table. All those people who think they should have a seat at the table right now in comics and that sort of thing that didn't earn it, same thing. They're going to be begging for a seat at the table for what AI has created. And when I say AI has created, I mean people have used AI to create. It's going to bring the walls down between the big corporations and the little guy. It's going to level the playing field, and I think that is a good thing. That's why I'm so excited about it. And what I show now with AI, Mid-Journey stuff.
I don't think so.
The Mid-Journey stuff. Well, I'm just saying, like, say it now.
Because all the great technologies that have arisen have said the same sales pitch. This will level the playing field.
The printing press did,
and it is not. It has not. We have created now industrial conglomerates and consumers. That's it.
The video Cal did point out some people. Now I don't so much agree with Christian Bale. I don't think he qualifies, but The Rock. How can you say The Rock is not a movie star? Because people go see movies for The Rock. They don't go see movies for who he's playing.
Well, The Rock is just that. He's The Rock. He's his own brand. And he's a celebrity, but, a movie star in the traditional sense, it's like, fine. Yeah, there's a few of them. I think there probably already will be. I'm talking in a general sense. So I'll concede. Yeah. I'll concede that to a degree, but, it's, I watched The Rock in his, in the Attitude Era, in the heyday of WWE. Like, I watched him come up, which was really cool. And this is more of what celebrity is now are, if you are a successful celebrity, you are not only a movie star, you're a brand, you're your own agent, you think like your own agent, you interact with the public like you're your own agent. You don't have a PR person to go through. I mean, they do have PR people to go through, but you know, The Rock is on the internet all the time, posting videos and talking directly to the audience and that sort of thing. And that's kind of the future. I joked before that celebrities now are kind of like non-pornographic OnlyFans people. You know, they're essentially representing themselves, representing their brand. And that's kind of a new thing. That's not like the old traditional movie star. And I think that that's a good thing. I think that they should be able to represent themselves. So I'm
you got to remember though,
that.
just like the old studio system dies, so too does the old expectations of what a movie star is.
Yeah, there will always be a new thing that'll come up, you know. And as far as leveling the playing field goes, I mean, again, the printing press was a catalyst for the movement of essentially a new freedom for people, because they were able to communicate in ways that only the church had access to before in kings. You know, things came down by decree. Suddenly the printing press made it so people could publish their own thoughts and distribute them. And that was that wasn't just a difference maker. That was a cultural shift that had never occurred before. We've never seen the likes of before. And it helped to shape the world we live in today. The same goes for when the telephone and the radio and the TV were invented. Like I said before, the bicycle and the locomotive became new levels of mobility for people. And the internet. I mean, we know each other because of the internet. We don't live close to each other. We've never met in real life. But we do this every week because of the internet. That is, again, what we're doing right now is competing with traditional radio and television. People, and thank you to everyone in the chat who tunes in. People tune in to listen to us banter and have fun and debate. Where before their only option would have been the television or the radio. So absolutely, all of these technological advances have leveled the playing field in some degree.
It hasn't. We are only capable of do what the elites need us to do with these tools, not more.
I don't agree with that. I see.
Oh, okay.
If that was the truth, then they wouldn't bother trying to propagandize and gaslight us so hard. You know, there's always going to be a balance between.
But it has worked.
Well, we were always going to have a balance between, you know, people who have more power and people who are independent, small business people, and that sort of thing.
And they are wiping the independent people. Look, they are wiping out all the independent people. Look what happened in this 2.5-year period of time.
Yeah.
How many small businesses has just disappeared?
A lot of them, absolutely.
Yeah.
But it's going to be to their own detriment.
No. And now governments want to take control of the production of food.
Well,
they are trying to get the production lands from the farmers.
Well, yeah, I understand that.
Don't kid yourself.
I'm not saying
we
that
we
they're
only
not trying,
do.
but
We can only do what they allow us to do.
Well, Martin, if that were true, then they would have done it already. We wouldn't have, truck protests and farmer protests, and we wouldn't have YouTube channels pointing this stuff out and fighting against it. I think the idea that we're just slaves no matter what, that's the attitude they want us to have because that makes us easier to control, but absolutely not in terms of, the power to decentralize and to do our own things. That
power to decentralize, man, more than half the internet servers in the world are property of Amazon.
Oh, I know that. I understand that. But more and more people are trying to decentralize, and they are doing it. I mean, the fact that we've got Elon Musk going against the grain, you may argue that, well, he's another rich elite. Well,
Yeah, and he wants to implement his platform X, where everything runs from there. So just one choke point.
Well, he's creating a competitive outlet, and that's what the market is competitive outlets, and people should be able to compete with that on all sorts of different levels. I fully believe that is a real thing and that is possible. Otherwise, I wouldn't bother trying. And the very fact, and this is something that's very important to me, and why I'm such an advocate for new technology, is, first of all, the people creating the new technology, because I'm in it, because I'm exploring it, a lot of them are independent people themselves. They're doing it through either open sourcing or, finding independent donors or raising their own money. They're creating these technologies and they're putting them out there for people to use because they believe as well that we should be able to have more autonomy creatively. For me, again, why I'm so excited about AI and why I show AI images and is not just because AI isn't just Midjourney. It's like I've shown before. It's just entertainment wise. It's motion capture. It's animation softwares. It's restoration. It's all these different things. And yes, we should be cautious about how we use it in different aspects of our lives, just like any technology. A hammer can be used to build a building or bludgeon someone to death. It's how we choose to use the tool. But in terms of, for me, I'm excited because I grew up, like I said, lower middle class. There are a lot of times where we ate poorly. We did without. We worried if we were going to get evicted. We were going to lose our home. As a husband and a father, there were times where I was unemployed and I had to wait on lines of food banks because we couldn't afford food. I'm not ashamed to say that. I've struggled and I've still tried to make my art. And I've had some successes because I didn't give up. I didn't listen to the people telling me, you can't do that. You don't have the resources. That's what Hollywood does. And only they're ever going to be able to do it. Now, more than ever, I'm being given open source programs. I'm being given opportunities through AI to break those barriers down and realize my vision. And I'm being met with a lot of resistance of people, not who are at the top, not the corporations, but people who are on my level and even, lower. I don't mean lower like they're lesser than me. They're just doing less, telling me why it's all bad and I can't do it. And the same story that I've heard over and over again my entire life is just reason after reason why I shouldn't do something, why I can't do something. And I just can't accept it, especially now that I've had some success.
I get it, and I hope that I oh my God, I don't know how to say it.
English, motherfucker, do you speak it?
No, I don't.
That wasn't me.
I know it's myself. I'm very self-consciousness of my language limitations. I don't want you to think that I telling you don't do things. In fact, we have been on your streams. We have
and I would say that you guys have been tremendously
we-
supportive, and I will never forget that. And I just it's just a disagreement on point of view of things. I understand that.
My position is we should abandon all this IP that has in one way or another betrayed us, and start producing our own things. You in the chat, you can do that too. I know you can. I know you, Chris, can. I know that Wolfen can. I have seen your content.
I want to see more of it. I want to
So
see.
don't you
everybody
ever
do it.
think, Chris, that I'm saying to you, don't do what you want to do? No.
And I wasn't speaking to you directly, Martin. I hope you understand that.
And I disagree with Martine about one thing. I don't think the elites have won yet.
I don't think they have either. Matter of fact, I think they're on the run more than they want us to
I
believe.
haven't said that they have won. but definitely at the moment they have the upper hand.
There will always, actually, I think they're losing that ground too.
Sorry, Chris. There's a phrase that has been appearing recurrently on the internet the last 2 weeks, and it's something like it goes something like either this is the moment that we fall, or the moment we all rise. This is the pivotal point of the human race.
There will always be more opportunities to gain back ground. I think the idea that it's all or nothing, now or never, unless you're dead, there's always another chance.
Even if you're dead, Palpatine came back somehow.
But they use some abilities that the Jedi would call unnatural.
And that was the explanation. The explanation was literally, somehow Palpatine have returned.
Yeah. That's somehow, that is good. That's about as good as a good question for another time. It's like, but I will say this, it's, I understand the trepidation behind the technology, and it's a good thing to have, because just like with all technology, there are things that, it all depends on how people decide to use it. AI is also being used to keep social credit scores in China. So, but that's not the AI deciding to do that. That's people trying to do that. So, we do have to, for every new advancement, there are new problems. And I fully acknowledge that,
Oh my God,
we all have free will to do what we want. So create what you want. Just wait till the robots have free will and kill us all.
Well, they're putting explosives on the robots now, on the police robots.
Again, right now with the robots, that's people coming up with that. And we do have to be careful with that. As far as, I think I said this before, robots in their technology, AI in its current state becoming sentient, is like a caveman carving a wheel out of stone and expecting it to turn into an F1 racer and zoom off. It's just,
What are you talking about?
The goddamn robots, John!
and that, hey, the argument that Will Smith he does that scene where he goes into, and I know Keith doesn't like this movie, it has nothing to do with Asimov, but I do like the movie.
I like the movie.
There's the scene where he goes in to the CEO of the robotics company, and he goes like, I got an idea for a commercial. How about someone builds a chair and then a robot builds another chair and it's faster and better? And I'm like, yeah, that's what technological advancement is.
No, the best part is the jingle. And then the jingle says, Northern Robotics, cheating on the little guy. Okay.
It's always, for every advancement in technology, like I said, there's opportunities for the little guy, and maybe leveling the playing field is a little hyperbolic. Maybe I'm on the fence about that one for one. It is a great movie. I really enjoyed it. I thought it had a great ending too. But there's always more opportunities. The printing press allowed us opportunities to get the word out about what was on our mind, and even even Jeff Bezos,
unless the editorial house says no to you.
And
you see what I mean?
I would like to point out that we have reached the end of the show. It's been 2 hours.
Is there an end of the show song?
We can sing along.
I met your mama. She's a hoe. I don't know.
No, please.
No.
Improv.
But we're at 2 hours, so
all right. Let's thank the chat. I think especially King's Poor Cal for giving me so much crap. Love you, man. Never change. Penny, D-Bud Martin, Alex Moore, the Crusader Lion, Crumpus Jesus. Thank you. Come again. Pat S.
Jeebus.
I said Jeebus.
No, you said Jesus.
Play back the footage. The Comic Relief Crusader, Tree Rock Creations, Wolverine 626, War Monkey, Dragon Ruse, and my neighbor on the moon, Scribe Light, and the Dork Knight. You ain't gonna slap me around, man. It's
Oh,
Peter Venkman fan site, and Joe's atmosphere just came in right as we're ending.
and take us out.
I'm trying.
That's your cue.
Hey guys, thanks for watching Pop Culture Minefield. If you've enjoyed the show, please make sure to like, subscribe, and don't forget to click the bell icon for updates on our shows and channel. Also, please leave a comment, and we'd like to know what you thought of the episode, as well as letting us know if there's something you'd like us to cover in a future episode. Don't forget that you can become a member of Pop Culture Minefield now. Make sure to visit our membership page and merch store at popcultureminefield.com. You can always find Pop Culture Minefield on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitch.
See you motherfuckers at the dance!